Good afternoon. We hope you are having a great lunch, late lunch, or maybe even dinner. If you tried to watch us earlier, and we were just having some internet issues, really laggy internet, and it's above my pay grade. Unplug it, plug it back in, go through the whole sudden link checklist.
Yeah. Can we just say, if you're watching this video right now, thank you, one, for being patient, but two, you're watching version 3.0.
Yeah, this is true.
Facts 3.0.
But we're going to keep going because we have a great work to be focused on.
Yes.
And that is actually the focus of this video.
Good segue, man.
And man,
Yes.
it's just amazing of the great work. And I think it's amazing what we let slide into that position of great work, but we'll get to that. The passage today is out of Nehemiah. And in chapter 6, we see this last-ditch effort of those who were opposed of Jerusalem rebuilding their wall, rebuilding their safety, and almost kind of like needing other people a little bit. Right, and so inside this whole reality of Nehemiah and his leadership and those who were opposing him, they come up one last time. They say, hey, come and convene with us. Come and talk with us. Come and meet at the plain of Ono, right? And at that point, it's like, oh, no, I'm not going. Like, that's all I can get. Like, that was Nehemiah's response. And so in verse 3, we see him say, and I sent a messenger to them saying, I am doing a great work. I cannot come down. Like, that was his first statement. Then he continues, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit rude, but really just real. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you?
Right.
Of like, you are not more important right now, and you are not more important than this work that I'm doing.
Right.
And that's just amazing because I think we're in this area of like, how do we come across as polite and still get our point across?
Right.
And let's be honest, like, man, I'm too lazy to figure that out sometimes. So I'm like, no. And I walk away, and it's like I don't know what to tell you. Like I'm busy,
Right.
and that should be polite enough. It's like almost to the point where that's as polite as I'm going to get. I'm busy,
Yeah.
right? But this whole reality of Nehemiah is, I mean, he had a focus. He had a focus that comes along with this. Yes, a great work, but he was focused.
Yeah. And I think that's in there. There's so much going on in that passage where you have that guy that comes up and he sees the wall being rebuilt. Man, they're to the point where the gates need to be hung. And that clown, he comes up.
Ceremonial.
Right. Let's come over here and let's talk about it. Right? Man, that is such a jerk move. It is, man, there is work that is being done. And who talks like this? Who talks like Nehemiah of, I have a great work I'm doing right now. Like, this is important, dude.
Yeah.
Right? So this over here, I completely understand, but give me like, I don't know, 10 minutes, 10 days. Tell you what, just go away. Right? But I think the distractions that we have in our life, man, those come up. And I think it's super important what you just said about this is it's super important to just focus. And there's a passage that I have out of Hebrews. There's kind of my contribution to this, not Hebrews. It's Hebrews chapter 12, starting in verse 1. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin that clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and the perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of God, right? On the throne of God.
Yeah.
So there's so much that's going in here, but right off the bat, therefore, we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. You have this idea in this passage, this word great means there's a bunch of them. Set in context, you have some of these individuals, these cloud of witnesses were literally martyrs for their faith. They were persecuted, killed for their faith. But then there was also a lot of these individuals that were just known for their faith, right? This cloud of witnesses that are bearing witness to the love of Christ, the saving grace of Christ. And says, since we're surrounded by all of these individuals, there's something bigger here.
Yeah.
Right? And let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely. And this is super important. Here's where the little distractions come in. And there's so much that's implying to set aside these little distractions that take us away from the real meat, from the real work. It's what this other clown was doing to Nehemiah. It was coming over here and like, let's have this ceremony. Let's have this. Like, we're focusing. All we have to do is hang some gates here, man, and we're done. We can put this one away, but you're wanting to have this go on. And man, those little distractions, we can call it Facebook, we can call it any number of things. We can call it sports, we can call it I'm bored and that's shiny. You can call it what you want. But we get so sidetracked by this, and it's sitting there saying, like, we need to put aside these things that easily distract. Yeah. And then there's another one, these sins that are easy to be a part of. And the truth is we all have some sins in our life. We have some junk in our life that is just easy to do, like these easy disobediences. Well, you can call them pet sins, you can call them whatever you want, but they're easy to do, and we like them. I know that we like them because we still have them, right? And if we're good at them and they're easy to go to, we foster them as well. Yeah. So we need to put those things aside and run the race with endurance. Maybe your Bible says with patience, the race that is set before us. And looking to Jesus, here's the key, the point, the focus. If we're going to run all of these things, we need to understand that he is the founder and the perfecter of our faith. So why do we do these things? Why do we focus on the gates? Why do we focus on finishing the wall? Because Jesus is the founder and the perfecter of our faith. He's the point. We have a tendency, especially yesterday, we talked about it in church, of Sunday groups coming back, which is super important to us as a church. But we need to make sure that the focus of those Sunday groups is not just to get together so we can have our social club or have just whatever the case is, and that the point of us coming back is to focus on the creator and the perfecter of our faith. Yeah. We come together because Jesus says come together to learn and to grow. If we came back to this time understanding that we are running the race, and the race is, the point of the race is a closer understanding, a closer walk with Jesus, that should be our motivation going into everything, right?
So much, yeah. And that's got to be it of the things that we allow to slide into that position of a great work. And here's the big thing about that great work, that parameter of really protecting it. I want to give you these three test questions because we're going to look at another passage just real briefly of even if we let something wrong slide into that position, if we do that, we've done Satan's job for him. And so these three test questions: one, does it benefit someone else first? Does it benefit someone else first? And will it make you a better individual? And the last one, does it highlight the life that God gives? So does it benefit someone else first? Does it make you a better individual? And does it highlight the life that God gives? Not us having this life of like, well, I'm here on earth, so I have the opportunity to do things. I mean, opportunity, yes, but is it the life that God gives to you? Because that is the life that is worth chasing after and sacrificing for and working for. But inside this chapter, Mark 1, we see Jesus coming onto the scene. This is him like walking over the hill and like, oh, who is this person, right? This is the first thing where there's no signs, there's no nothing. Like he's speaking of his kingdom coming. He hasn't healed anybody, at least not yet, until after he's done teaching. And Mark chapter 1 says, and they went to Capernaum, and immediately on the Sabbath, he entered into the synagogue and was teaching. And they were astonished at his teaching, and he taught them as one who had authority, and not as the scribes. And immediately there was in the synagogue a man who with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, what have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God. But Jesus rebuked him, saying, be silent and come out of him. I've read this passage however many times over, it's been referenced. I'm like, man, that's Jesus and his power. But I've never once looked at the man and said, that dude just went to church that day. Yeah. Like, they didn't know who he was before. Like, he was the one who got up and says, hey, I have a word. And he got up and he's like, who is this person? He's speaking with authority and not like the scribes. We all kind of know that statement as well. But he was just a guy sitting in the seats.
Right.
And he was in the church. He was at the right group, right? But he had some spirits inside of him. And at that point, like, I don't know, maybe he knew it, maybe he didn't. But it wasn't until Jesus actually started speaking in and his words were hitting his heart that spirit had to make himself known. And when we rub ourselves up with Jesus, that's at the point where we realize, are we working towards his great work or not? Because I feel like that's what that image looks like if we have his great work focused as our great work and not us experiencing a new house, not experiencing all these other things that are blessings and are good things. But like last week, this kind of I revealed the focus of our mission trip was work to give. Because we're going to work to give away a house to someone in Guatemala who, I don't know, God has someone in mind, but it's a simple $5,000 that we can raise and go build a house in 2 days. And I just feel like I always want to do that just to have that checked off my box. But, that's an amazing element, though, when you think about what that is to a family.
Sure.
A great work. And so I hope that you are making sure that your great work that you have focused on is referring everything back to God and his power and his gospel and how he has blessed you. Because, this hitting back of work to give away, like, I'm working to pay off my house, but I'm going to give it away to my kids,
to leave that legacy.
I'm going to help you out. Here is $160,000, well, whatever it's going to be by then.
Right.
And bless your family with it.
Sure.
Here's another stone for your platform to grow. Right. And we don't have that perspective when it comes to the gospel. We don't say, Lord, here's our stone to help build your platform.
Yeah. That's an interesting statement, and I think that's probably it as we sign off here. The remainder of that passage in Hebrews, it says that Christ willingly endured the cross, that we would understand what the throne of God. We would understand that relationship. And that's the things that we leave behind. Why do we do all of this? Your 3 questions, and those are just valuable and just good insight to even read through our intentions. So, guys, as we kind of go, our separate ways this week. I want to encourage everyone to take a moment and pay attention to what are our motivations behind things. What are our motivations of going to church? Is it going to church just to go to church? I am bothered that there was a man that was possessed by demons that was apparently just hanging out. What is the environment that is conducive for that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How is that acceptable?
That's a crazy thought.
Yeah, that kind of makes me want to throw up a little bit. Of in my own life, in my own circle, would that individual make the cut? Would he be like?
Would he be found out quickly?
Yeah. Would my walk in the circle the influence and whatnot, would that weed that out quickly?
To help him.
Yeah.
But not just, no, you got to go.
If we're going to be an environment that's conducive, then it needs to be conducive for the growth in Christ, not for a demon to hang out. There's some problems. So focusing on Jesus, I could clearly go on a tirade, but we're not going to.
It was building up.
Yeah, it was building. It was. You felt it, didn't you? All right. Love you guys. Hope to see you next week with less technical difficulties.
And live.
Yeah, and live. We make no guarantees.